What's up? This is Adriyan Rae, and I play Alita on Syfy's Vagrant Queen. I'm hanging out with Elias on the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Adrian, welcome to the cave.
Hey, thank you for having me.
How are you? What's new with you?
I'm good in the midst of everything. We're surviving and happy and optimistic and healthy. How are you?
Good. Can't complain. We're all healthy here, knock on wood, and, hopefully we'll see a light at the end of the tunnel soon.
Yes, I claim that.
Yeah. How are you dealing with the whole, staying at home and everything?
It's not that much different from my regular life since I stay at home quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's not too much of a heavy transition. I'm really a homebody.
There you go.
So yeah, it hasn't been quite that jarring.
So you've been busy the last few years. You've done various TV shows, and now you star in Syfy's Vagrant Queen, and we'll talk about that. But I want the listeners to get to know a little bit more about you. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Seaford, Delaware.
Oh, wow. Well, how was it growing up there?
Different than LA for sure. It's a very small town. Our population's like 6,000, so everyone knows everyone, and it's kind of like country living, really. Like we would get our produce from someone who had a farm and they sold it on the side of the road. They have the best tomatoes. The produce stations on the side of the road, they have the best tomatoes ever, and corn. And yeah, stuff like that. We went mudding and cow tipping, which I don't do anymore. And it's very mean, but I have tried it.
So growing up in a small town like that, do you have any idea you wanted to get into the acting world?
Oh no, I didn't think it was even a possibility. I didn't even know that I could act, that it was an option. I just thought people in the TV were in this wonderful land far off away. But I honestly just wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon growing up. I just wanted to be that. And then I went to school to be a scientist and a physician assistant. I double majored in that. And then in the midst of that, I wanted to sing. So I wanted to try my hand in that. So I moved to Atlanta. And once I moved to Atlanta, dabbling into the entertainment industry, I actually was exposed to acting there.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's from trying to sing that I got exposed to acting. And from there, it just went into me falling in love with it, honestly, and realizing that was where I was supposed to be.
Well, Atlanta's like the big place now for everything gets filmed there these days.
Yeah, man. So many things and so many shows that you think are filming in New York and things like that. Nope, it's right in Atlanta.
So how did you get so what was the first start that you got yourself into acting? Was it something you were watching and you're like, I want to go try this? How did you fall into that exactly?
Well, I was asked to, I was working with a record label, and they had an artist that they were doing a video for, and they asked me to be in his video as the lead girl. And I said, no, I'm not shaking my butt on a video. And they were like, no, not that kind of, not that kind of video girl. So they were like, you gotta do some acting. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I probably wouldn't be the best person. And they keep pushing it. I go to set and I do some acting. They're like, just pretend like that's your boyfriend and someone's beating him up and pretend like this. So I was doing that and they were like, wow, you're actually pretty good. And I was like, nah. And I was like, okay. So they kept pushing me to try it. And then, the label and the managers that I was with at the time, they were like, just try and take some classes just in case, just so we can have all these bases covered and things like that. And when I started taking classes, I met my mentor, and my mentor trained me. And then I booked my first role, and I was on set for 15 hours, and I was in love. I was still ready to go and to keep working. And I was like, okay, because I know in the lab as a scientist, I'd be there for 2 hours, and I was ready to go home. So I was like, this is my passion. This is what I actually love. And I just kept working at it from there.
Oh, you said you had a mentor. Was this like a one-on-one training for acting?
Yeah, Carl Payne. He plays Cole in Martin and several other things. But you might recall him from playing the role of Cole in the show Martin,
Yeah.
the sitcom. Yeah, he was my mentor. It still is. And, he just took me under his wing and started teaching me the fundamentals and, introduced me to Stella Adler and introduced me to the Stanislavski method and things like that.
What was your first gig that you got while you were working with him?
Oh, it was a pilot by Kenya Moore called Life Twirls On. And it was kind of like something that Kenya wrote. She wanted to do a pilot where she wrote and starred in and directed it. And I played her little sister.
Oh, wow. I assume did the show get picked up anywhere? Or was it just the pilot that was shot?
No, it was just the pilot that was shot.
So now you star on Syfy's Vagrant Queen. For the listeners that haven't seen the show yet, it just premiered recently. Tell us about what the show's about.
Well, the show is a fun show that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's about a child queen who her bloodline is being extinguished by this republic, who are these group of people who wanted to overthrow the monarchy. And they succeeded in overthrowing the monarchy, but they did not kill her. She's the last of this bloodline, and they're out searching the galaxy trying to find her and kill her. She's escaped them. She's out, and she's living her best life. And then an old friend finds her and tells her that her mother is still alive. And that catapults her and this trio that they create with Isaac and May into this whole space journey of finding her mother.
Oh, wow. Did you, how did you first hear about this project? Like, what drew you to it?
Well, I first heard about it through my manager. Someone had called the management company asking for the availability of another actress in our management company. And not even someone that my manager repped. And he overheard and he was like, I think Adriyan would be great for that. So he pitched me and sent me the sides. And that's how I first heard about it. But what drew me to her the most was, how relatable she was to me and how easily I clicked with her. It was like instant. I read the sides one time and I was off book. So I was like, wow, yeah, I really understand her way of thinking. And, I understood it all. It was just really, really refreshing, to find a character that you click with so well.
Now
the writing was funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pardon?
No, go ahead.
Oh, and the writing was funny. So I was like, yeah, I love this. And it mixed comedy, drama, and action too, which was amazing.
And then this is based off comic books. Like, were you like a sci-fi fan at all? Like, did you ever had a chance to read the comics?
I read the comic once. I got the audition, but no, I've never really been a comic book girl. I'm more into them now that I, play the role of Alita and I'm getting into that world. But no, prior to having that audition, I never really read comics.
Tell us about your audition the first time you went in there. Or was it a self-tape?
It was a self-tape.
Wow.
It was a self-tape. And I went all out for this audition. I was like, I'm going to do this. I don't care. I love this. So the first scene from my audition is also the first scene of the show where Alita, she falls from like a ceiling and she crashes down into, wherever she is. And she has this piece of space junk that she's been scattered for. In my audition, I literally jumped off of a chair, up straight into the air, and fell straight down into frame. So it looked like I fell from the ceiling. and I just had fun with it, man. I put my little spin on it. I had my little get up on, my little space get up. It was really fun. I had so much fun. I still love that audition.
When you did the self-tape, did you do it by yourself or with just somebody else in the room watching you?
No, I have a friend who he reads with me. He reads most of my self-tapes with me. Yeah.
So how How would you describe your character on the show?
Well, she's tough, of course, and badass, and the obvious things. But she's also layered and extremely loyal. She's tough on the outside and soft on the inside, and she's been through a lot of trauma. So she's someone who sometimes her actions seem to be quirky or weird, but it's really her response to not having those social interactions growing up because of, her being a queen, number one, and then losing everyone in her family and being isolated by herself for eight years.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it manifests in like funny little ways, and other times it's quite sad. But yeah, she's layered. She's very layered, but still fun, and she doesn't take herself too serious, which is great.
So I noticed there's a lot of there's a couple fighting scenes in the show and everything, and like a lot of stunts. Like, do you do your own stunts?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are those?
It's really, literally, I love them. It's one of my favorite parts of it. That's why the fact that it had action, comedy, and drama, that's why I was like, oh, this is the trifecta. But yeah, it's challenging because I didn't know beforehand that I would be cast in a role where I would be required to do so many stunts. As actors, we stay fit. We go to the gym, we do our cardio, we make sure we look good, but we don't necessarily all take up martial arts, So it was like a learning curve that I had to try to hurry up and run against to, do the kicks properly and learn that, and then still be the lead of the show, and then be in South Africa, and then, be in every scene and lines and all those other things. But it was really fun, challenging, but very fun.
So what's the experience like? Like you're the leader of the show. Like, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel extremely grateful, and I don't know. I'm the leader of the show, but I'm in such great company.
Yeah,
I have such amazing people around me that I don't feel like there's a big weight on my shoulders or anything, because I have people who have been, in amazing sci-fi shows, and they still are in amazing sci-fi shows, like Tim, and I have Alex, who's just, so giving of that. I have Colin and Bonnie and Jim, all of my castmates and everyone. They're just so giving and so helpful. I don't necessarily feel like it's just my show.
Yeah.
It's our show, and we all made it. So I don't feel like it's all on my back either.
How beautiful is Cape Town, by the way?
Oh my goodness. It looks like LA at times.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like there are places where, in LA, the mountains, they fall into the ocean, and then it's just like this beautiful sunset. How it looks. There's places like that in Cape Town, and they have the palm trees. They have Table Mountain. It's really beautiful. It really is. And they have so many different terrains. Like the variety of terrains that they have is amazing.
You mentioned like you're working with the cast and everything. Like, how would you describe the chemistry like between your character and like with Tim and Alex?
Oh, it's great. I was so shocked at how much chemistry we had, because we didn't get to do chemistry reads. As I was reading in LA, Tim was reading in Canada, and Alex is from South Africa, and she was reading in South Africa.
Yeah.
So we never got to read together in person. And then they had us do a chemistry rehearsal, me and Tim, when we got there after like day 2. And instantly, like our banter, the conversation of like Alita and Isaac, and our theme just bouncing back off of each other, it was great. And I was like, oh, okay, this is. I was amazed at how much chemistry we had. I was like, wow, they just knew. But our chemistry is great, and everybody's like a big old family, and Tim's like the brother I never had, and Alex is like just the sweetest thing, and she just makes me laugh all the time. We spend most of our time on set between scenes laughing, so it's great.
Speaking of scenes, do you have a favorite scene that you were in that like sticks out?
Yeah, it's in the finale. I can't talk about it though. It's my favorite fight scene.
Okay, that's fair. We'll have to wait for it.
Yeah.
So, you've been working for a few years now. Like we mentioned earlier, self-tape and auditioning in front of directors. What do you enjoy more?
I love self-tapes, honestly. I'm an introvert. I'm very much an introvert. Like I said, that's why I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love creating in my own space. And, I've gotten to the point where, when I first started, I would do all these takes and I would just like have to get it perfect. But then I started like getting all right, I'm only going to do 5 takes of this max.
Yeah.
And if I get it before then, I'm just doing a safety. And, it's just nice to be able to create in your home. And when you're on your own time and you don't have to deal with traffic and parking and waiting in line for 40 minutes because they might be running a little bit late or, things like that. So I love self-taping. But there's also this amazing feeling when you're in the room and you're just killing it. And you and the reader are in there and the casting director, and you just feel their energy. Like they like the art that I just created. That's a really invigorating feeling too.
Yeah. I've had other guests on when they said that they love the reason they love going in there too is like because when they leave and they know they knocked it out of the park, they're just like they're always telling me I had like the biggest grin just walking out of there because I know I nailed it.
I call it audition high.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally have it for like an hour. I'm like calling everyone, "Hello, I just had a great audition."
Would you do when you go do the auditionings live? Do you have like a little ritual or anything you do before that? Like any weird quirks or anything?
I don't talk to anyone for an hour before.
Really?
Like my phone goes on do not disturb an hour before my audition, and I also don't drill the sides. Like I don't look at the sides. I try not to unless I'm already off book, but I try not to I try to wean myself off of the paper. Like you don't even need that. Look, you're doing it without it. So go in there and do it without it. You don't even need it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I do that, and I have like certain playlists that I'll play depending on the character.
Okay, like you just throw like Spotify on or something like that.
No, I create them.
Oh,
I
you create?
these.
Oh, I thought you meant like you listen. I thought you were talking about like you're listening to some music or something to pump you up.
No, I do have a Pump Me Up playlist, but that was when I first started making them. And then now more recently, I'll make one like if the character's scene is really sad or the character is dealing with a death or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll have some heavier songs that will put me in an emotional state like that. Or if the character's really like cocky and snarky, I'll put on, some Beyonce maybe and get myself, I'm all that, I'm popping that. So, yeah, I'll
awesome.
curate it for the mood that I need.
Yeah. So in the acting world, you're young, you've been in it for a few years. Like, is there somebody that you look up to, like an influence in the acting world?
Yeah, for sure. So my favorite actor is Benedict Cumberbatch.
He's awesome.
I love Jim Carrey's work. He is, both of them though. It's just, they are phenomenal. Debbie Allen, just Viola Davis. These are people who, their work is timeless. And, that's what I strive for is, to make work that affects people, that helps people, that actually allows them to see a different perspective that lasts throughout the decades. So, those are my top 4 for sure.
It's a good list. It's a good list. So you mentioned how you weren't even when you were growing up, like you didn't even know you were going to get into the acting world. It's just the way it worked out in your life. Like, what is some advice that you give to somebody that after you talk to them and everything that they want to they tell you they want to get into the acting world? What do you tell them?
I tell them to train. I tell them to train like my mentor told me. Like, I got with him and he started, teaching me things. And for a year, I was not allowed to audition. And I was like, I'm ready. He was like, no, you're not. Now show me how you would brush your teeth without a toothbrush. And I'm like this. No, you're not ready. So I say train. Yeah. Even when you book that role, even when you get that co-star role and, you're on fire and things like that, still train, even after that. And remember that your journey won't be the same as everyone else's or anyone else's.
That's right.
It's your journey, and you have to figure out what works best for you.
Isn't it funny?
That would be my thing.
Yeah, isn't it funny like how like some people like they never took acting lessons or anything, and they just somehow got into it, and that was it for them. Other people like even you, like you mentioned, like you've auditioned, you've got in. Other people just they work and they still do acting lessons once or twice a week while they're working.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just funny how how things work out for some people in the industry.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Like how do you keep up with everything? Like how do you try to improve your acting skills while you're working?
Well, I work with my coach. Me and my coach, we go through every episode. Like for Vagrant Queen, we go through every episode, and we literally go through every line, and we figure out, the tone of this scene, how it matches to the arc of my character, how it matches to the tone in the arc of the show, so on and so forth. And we break it down together. And then once we do that, I go through and I practice my, my lines and everything daily. And, I stick to a very strict schedule while filming to make sure I'm able to do all the studying, the stunts, going to work and getting sleep and showering and eating. So that's how I do it while I'm filming. And then when I'm not, I constantly am trying to be better. I look at shows that I love and I try to figure out what makes this so intriguing to me. I look at scenes that maybe have not even any words, and I'm like, why was that so interesting? And how did that person make this moment so interesting? They made a meal of this scene that has no lines.
So you said speaking of TV shows, like on your downtime, what are some of the TV shows that you enjoy watching?
I love Succession. I love Succession. I love Killing Eve. Can't wait for that to come out later this month. And The Outsider is really good.
That's really good. Yes. Did you So what's the last thing you binged? With the whole lockdown, I'm sure you're binging a lot of things.
I watch less TV than you think.
Really?
But the last thing I actually binged was Succession. That's why I'm so much on the Succession tip. I'm like, man, what did I miss out on for so long?
Do you have a dream role that you want to play someday?
I would love to play a superhero action star in a Marvel film.
That's awesome.
I would love that.
Do you have a favorite character?
My favorite character? I have if I could create, one. I love Storm, of course. And then I love Black Widow. And I love, gosh, there's so many to choose from. There's so many, but it's not so many. But then I love Black Panther too, and the women of Wakanda.
Yeah.
I want to incorporate all of them.
If you could create your own superhero, what power would you want?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would want the power to telekinesis, because then I could also fly.
Interesting.
Because I could move myself.
You're right. You're right. Where do you see yourself 10, 20 years from now?
10, 20 years from now, I see myself with a family and with a stable, as stable as acting could be, with a stable career and somewhere where I'm just happy and I'm doing what I love.
That's awesome.
That's where I see myself in 10 years.
Do you have any other upcoming projects that you could tell the listeners about?
Yes, I'm currently working on ways to give back, and it's very, very, very dear to my heart. It's a scholarship fund that my company, Love and Light Media, is sponsoring. It's called the Love and Light Media Heart and Soul Scholarship. So we'll be giving scholarships to children who, their families can't afford college, and they don't, just for the people the underprivileged and things like that. And the Heart Scholarship would be towards those who are looking into careers in, physician assistant studies, occupational therapy, PT, nursing, pre-med. And then the Soul would be for those looking into things like acting, theater, directing, editing, things like that. So it's literally me. It's the two aspects of me, and I want to give back in both ways because both of those paths
awesome.
in my life has really helped me.
How did you decide did you start this whole thing?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
How
Yeah,
did you,
it was
how
one
did
of
you
the
decide
first
to do
things. Well, it was just, I always say that I wanted to give back, and then I have a little sister who's in college, and she was talking to me about her tuition. I was like, God damn. And I was just like, is she struggling? And because we don't come from much, and I know I struggled when I was in college, I was like, this is not just feeling her tension, feeling her stress of like, I won't be able to go to, like, because it mounds up to, you know, when you're in college and you're in that moment and you don't know if you can pay your bill and they're telling you you can't come back and you can't sign up for classes and things like that. And you're like, well, then if I can't sign up for classes, I can't finish this school year. If I don't finish this school year and I take a break, their chances are that I won't come back to school. If I don't get this college degree, I won't be able to get this amount of salary. And if I don't get this salary, I'll do this. So it's just so much stress that people put on themselves. And I would like to be able to relieve that because I wish somebody would have been able to do it for me when I was in college.
Awesome.
So if I can, I will.
Is this like a yearly scholarship that people can apply for?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, we're getting it up and running, and we hope to get it up and running by the fall of this year.
That's awesome. Lastly, Adriyan, how can the listeners find you on social media?
Oh, everything is my name, Adriyan Rae. That is ADRIYANRAE.
That's awesome, Adriyan. This was fun. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
I finally get my man cave.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the MCC Podcast and our website, themccpodcast.com. Until next time.